Let's ride.
And we have the very latest from Mar-a-Lago, the search of Mar-a-Lago. As the Justice Department says, it has reviewed the documents taken from former President Trump's home earlier this month and set some aside as potentially attorney-client privileged information. ABC's Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas is in Washington with more.
Indications that DOJ plans to file a lengthy rebuttal to Trump's desire to have an independent person review the classified documents he took to Mar-a-Lago for possible issues of privilege, a move some legal experts say could slow down the Justice Department's investigation. Florida federal judge Aileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, signals she's inclined to grant Trump's request for a special master. But DOJ says it's already done the work, completing their initial review of the documents seized and finding a limited set of materials that potentially contain attorney-client privileged information. FBI officials said they're focused on the 11 sets of classified documents from Mar-a-Lago they removed earlier this month. Those on top of the 184 classified documents Trump handed over in January. 92 of them marked secret and 25 marked top secret. The Justice Department says those documents included information about clandestine human sources. In other words, spies.
15 minutes later.
While the former president has fumed about the FBI's search of Mar-a-Lago, former First Lady Melania Trump has been quiet about it. But we're now getting the first details of her reaction to the search. CNN's Kate Bennett joining us with her new reporting. It's interesting, Kate, she's annoyed, but maybe not for the reason you would think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as Donald Trump rants and raves and goes into this very, specific legal battle, Melania Trump, as usual, is just sort of upset that her privacy was invaded. Being part of the Donald Trump orbit means these things happen, but she was more upset that basically people were in her home, in her closet, searching her house where her son lives, of whom she's rightfully protective of, but not upset to the extent of making a statement or coming to his defense or getting involved in all of this back and forth with the U.S. government and the DOJ that the former president is doing. She's just sort of like, don't mess with my stuff. Don't go in my closet.
They went in her closet. They went in her sleeping quarters, which are separate from the former president's. Did they go through everything?
Well, it sounds like they did. The search warrant did have the right to go through the rooms in the suite where the president frequents. Now, as you just mentioned, they do have separate bedrooms. Her suite of rooms is down the hall from his, not too far. But this is a first lady who is not, hiding a letter from Kim Jong-un in her dresser drawer. She is certainly, his business is separate from hers. She has never let the two overlap. She's very vocal about that. So it's not as though he's like, hey, I'm going to put this box in your closet. That was certainly not the case and likely never will be for Melania Trump.
Her business, you mentioned, separate from his. She does have business. She's doing this NFT thing.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it, this NFT thing, because it's very hard to decipher. First ladies, there's no playbook for after they leave office of what they have to do. Some of them choose to go on and use their initiatives to build global platforms. Melania Trump has chosen to invest her time into an NFT business, which is for profit, on a website called USA Memorabilia, where they sell NFTs, which are digital non-fungible token collectibles, for like $50 of moments in the Trump presidency. It's very unorthodox for a former first lady to develop a business that is for profit explicitly, as this website is. She has millions of Twitter followers. She doesn't tweet that much, but almost half of her tweets since February have been retweets promoting this NFT business and the sale of these specific NFTs. It's an unusual, very strange sort of path for a former first lady not to continue the giant global platform she has to talk about, whatever children in Melania's instance. But instead, she's chosen this route, which again is unorthodox. And Melania Trump has always been sort of an enigma of a first lady, and she continues to be. And it's her right. Listen, first ladies only get a $20,000 pension a year when they leave office, and that's after the president dies. So it's not, unlike the president who gets money to support an office, the first lady doesn't get that much.
Really interesting look behind the scenes. Kate, thank you for that reporting.
Sure.
Eventually.
We begin this morning with the latest on the search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Lawyers for the Justice Department said yesterday that some of the documents the FBI recovered during their search may contain information that's protected by attorney-client privileges. That disclosure by the DOJ was sent to U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon. She's currently weighing a request from Trump's legal team to have what's called a special master appointed to review the documents that were seized by the DOJ. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now for more on this. So, Julia, how could this disclosure by the DOJ impact the judge's decision on whether to appoint a special master?
Well, she may decide, Joe, that in fact this isn't a decision she needs to make, that in fact the point is moot because the filter team at the FBI has already completed their job of going through these documents and deciding what might be protected under attorney-client privilege, what needs to be handed over to the National Archives, and what maybe should have been classified that was not kept in the correct location. And so maybe the job is already done, and so why appoint someone else to do that? So we should be able to get more of a window into that today, and also to see the arguments from the Trump team about why they think someone might still be necessary. Perhaps they think you should have someone go in after them. I guess you would have to be collecting all of this
Now I agree with Rush. I'm too stupid to make up my own mind.
Work again and going through it. We know it took them the better part of August just to get through all of these documents. To start that process over would seem a little tedious, but we'll get more insight into that today. But it may be that the time to appoint a special master would have been weeks ago, and that simply this isn't even a decision she would need to make anymore.
Julia, can you walk us through how a review like this works and how the DOJ determines what might be privileged information and what might be important to their national security investigation?
That's right. They have a filter team. This is largely career agents at the FBI, not people who are appointed to serve under any one administration. You could very well have some of these people going through these documents that actually came in under the Trump administration, and they're going through and deciding what might be attorney-client privilege and maybe what should be actually set aside. In other words, not looked at as part of this case. That would be protected under attorney-client privilege. Perhaps it's something personal. A note that the former president wrote down that doesn't necessarily need to be preserved, doesn't need to go over to the National Archives under the Presidential Records Act, and actually can just be sent back to the former president himself, saying that it would be his property. It seems that Trump did not do a good job of sorting through documents, keeping them where they needed to go. So it's a lot like just going through any pile of papers you might find on my desk or your desk, Joe. Maybe you're more organized than I am, and trying to figure out what folder they need to go in there. It's so all mishmashed together. That's the job of a filter team. Often it can take months, but in this case, we know because it was so high profile, they were able to put a lot of people on a
Much later.
Joining me now is Mike Davis, president of the Article 3 Project and former clerk to Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. You know, Mike, does this mean the request for a special master doesn't really matter anymore?
Not at all. So the Biden Justice Department and the FBI has a pretty bad track record as it relates to President Trump. We've seen that they have weaponized, they have politicized law enforcement repeatedly to get Trump. This was an unprecedented, unnecessary, unlawful home raid on a former president. The whole legal basis for the raid has been blown apart. They went after Trump. They said he may have violated the Espionage Act. That's not even possible. As the commander-in-chief, he can declassify anything he wants. They say he may have stole or misused government property under the Presidential Records Act and other statutes. That's just not possible. There's a 2012 a decision by an Obama judge that former presidents can take personal records with them when they leave office. So there goes the obstruction allegation.
This is how legends are born.